Many places, the demand for childcare is high in the Northwest Territories. To meet the need, Aurora College in Yellowknife has been training Northerners with hands-on learning and supportive networking. Charlotte Jacobs shows us the effect that it's having.
It's just been a great accomplishment for me. I feel really happy, something I'm proud of for myself because of the hard work I was able to put into the program.
Shannon Wedowin is living her dream. She's in her final work placement for the 2-year Early Learning and Childcare Diploma program at Aurora College in Yellowknife. The Clicho-Dene mother of 2 says her skills from school have led her to job offers back in her home community of Béchacon.
Right now I'm working with the University of Toronto, as a research assistant, being an Indigenous woman and from my home community. The language that I've lost, so the research part of the Indigenous piece, the Indigenous language, I put my own time in every evening just to do research on what can I do for myself, but also part of my project on how can we help parents better understand it's the importance of Indigenous language revitalization.
The curriculum is based on the development of inclusive play with a northern focus on Indigenous language, culture, and tradition. Natasha Staples, an Inuk from Nunavut, Northwest Territories, has years of experience working with daycare children, but says it was through Aurora College's studies that she began to understand how Indigenous educators may face intergenerational trauma.
I definitely feel like I've grown myself personally, just overall in my mental health state, going to the program, just learning it's okay that I have baggage, but I can't put it on my kids. So something as small as triggers, I'm oh yeah, that was a trigger. How am I going to handle this right now?
Across the territory, the demand for childcare is high, but spaces are limited. According to the Minister of Education, 95 of the 98 licensed childcare providers have joined the Liberal government subsidy program, geared at eventually providing $10 a day care. Wedowin says the emphasis needs to be on attracting and maintaining quality ECEs, a traditionally undervalued industry.
But then when I think about living in the north and the lack of structured buildings, and I feel that needs to take place first. I feel we need to really focus on ECEs and because they're struggling, burnout is happening, financial is a huge thing where ECEs are struggling with.
The N.W.T plans to create 70 new childcare spaces this year alone and promises another 230 by 2026. Where and how the staff needed to care for those children is unclear. Staples says the college prepared her and her peers for the increased demand created by $10 a day childcare by teaching them communication and teamwork amongst ECEs.
Communication is the strongest thing ever, and being able to voice, hey, I'm on edge today. I need a little more push from you today, and hopefully I can repay you that tomorrow when I'm 100% again. Is super important, especially with $10 a day. I think the staff themselves, the government kind of went backwards. They started with the families when they should have started with the educators, and then the families, and then the kids.
Charlotte Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Once you notice a typo, you can't unsee it. Well, Iqaluit, Nunavut has had a typo on a building in the middle of the community for more than a decade. If you know N.W.T, it was a constant irritation, trust me. Our Ken Driscoll finds out what happens when you need to cut a queue.
This is the community building in Iqaluit. Community means the traditional sled pulled by dog teams. The building's sort of shaped like one. Well, this is what it looked like until last week. The queue at the end of Community was a mistake from the day the building opened, more than a decade ago. The language commissioner of Nunavut's office is in the Community building. If an Inuktitut typo is irritating to the typical Inuktitut speaker, just imagine how the language commissioner felt walking by the sign every day. Her predecessors have been asking for a fix since 2015.
I was appointed in the year 2020 and was fully aware of the misspelling, obviously. And that was one of the things I dusted off the files.
Last week, the Q came down, replaced with proper spelling. Just how big is the difference? One Q out and an IK to replace it? Ariak explains just how much one letter can mean.
The word kamutik, the way it was with the old spelling of Q-A-M-U-T-I-Q, I can, for the English-speaking community, I can relate it this way. The word truck, it sounds like T-R-U-Q, but it's spelled T-R-U-C-K. And it's the same idea here.
Public signage has a role to play in supporting the growth and inclusion of Inuktitut. A proper spelling or typo has an outsized effect. After all, everyone sees it.
Having correct spelling in the Inuit language is so important because it can also be used as a tool to learn and be exposed to more of our languages.
The Q is now down, but it sure isn't out. The building owners gifted it to the Language Commission. They plan to clean it up and mount it on the office wall. A reminder of just how important one lonely letter Q can be when you're trying to promote Inuktitut. Ken Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
Well, the search continues for two men who disappeared in a remote area of Brazil's Amazon. A backpack was identified to British journalist Dom Phillips. A health card and clothes found belonged to Brazilian Indigenous expert Bruno Pereira. They were submerged in a river. The two were on a reporting trip in a remote jungle near the border of Peru and Colombia, home to the world's largest number of uncontacted Indigenous people. The pair was last seen on June 5th. Well, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has tested positive for COVID-19. He just returned from the Summit of the Americas in California on the weekend. This would be the second time he has tested positive for the virus. Prime Minister tweeted that he is isolating, and he goes on to say that he feels okay, but that's because I got my shots. So if you haven't, get vaccinated, and if you can, get boosted. And he goes on to tweet, let's protect our healthcare system, each other, and ourselves. Well, a concerted effort is underway in Toronto to curb the spread of monkeypox in the city. First of a series of community-based vaccine clinics was held on Sunday. They're targeting workers at bathhouses. They're also being offered to those who've had close contact with someone who has tested positive for the virus and those with high-risk contacts. The monkeypox vaccine is actually the same one that's used to treat smallpox. 114 cases of monkeypox have been confirmed in Canada, 11 of which are in Toronto. Well, we want to hear what you think about any of the stories that we bring you or the stories we should be telling. Here's how you can get in touch with us. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see all of our latest stories. We need to take a quick break, but still ahead, changing the name of a mountain in America's Yellowstone Park to honor victims of a historic massacre. I'll tell you about that after the break. And also, Manitoba gets a big boost for tourism.
From the northern lights and polar bears in Churchill to historic downtown Winnipeg, there is a reason that tourism is one of Manitoba's spectacular industries.
Well, we're going to the United States now, where a mountain in Yellowstone National Park has a new name. The mountain, formerly called Mount Doan, will now be known as First Peoples Mountain. It's to mark Yellowstone's 150th anniversary this year. The peak was named after Gustavus Doane. He was a key member of the Washburn-Longford-Doane expedition in 1870. He was also involved in a massacre of the pagan Blackfeet, where 173 Native American people, including women, children, and elders, were killed. Yellowstone officials are considering changing other offensive names in the future. Well, demonstrators gathered in the busy streets of downtown Toronto today to protest the world's largest mining convention. The Mining Injustice Solidarity Network organized the event as hundreds of people jammed the streets with signs and flags as an act of solidarity. It happens outside the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada 2022 convention. They spoke out against the mining practices in communities in Canada and across the globe. Yellowknife from Clyde River in Nunavut spoke to the crowd about the effect that mining has had in her territory.
You know, right now there's this mine called Baffinland, and it's not far from Pond Inlet, from Mi'kmaq. And the impacts that this mine has had in such a short period of time has been devastating. Absolutely devastating on the land, the animals, both on the land and in the waters. The water is being destroyed all around it. The livelihoods of Inuit in that region depend on the land. These mines can't feed us forever. Once the land is destroyed, there is no more. Everything revolves around the land. How are they coming in and not even properly speaking to Inuit about it? Why are they just
Indigenous cosmetics brand Cheekbone Beauty has a cheeky new ad campaign to draw attention to contaminated water that many First Nations continue to live with in Canada.
Glossed Over by Cheekbone Beauty. The new lip gloss collection infused with water from Indigenous communities in Canada. Water contaminated with lead, E. coli, and mercury. Would you put it to your lips? Some people don't have a choice. It's time to stop glossing over this issue.
The lipstick faux launch was posted on Cheekbone Beauty's Instagram to raise awareness and kick off the campaign with cosmetics giant Sephora, where proceeds from the sale of Cheekbone Beauty products in the month of June will be donated to Water First, a nonprofit dedicated to helping Indigenous communities access clean drinking water. A First Nation in the interior of BC hopes to bring tourists in by reopening a historic gas station and restaurant. Hatzel First Nation say they will move ahead with the multi-million-dollar project in Soda Creek, something their community has been wanting for decades. Lee Wilson has that story.
Hatzel First Nation say they will renovate and reopen a familiar location, the Soda Creek Emporium, abandoned gas station and restaurant. Both businesses have long been closed. Thanks to collaboration with the Hatzel Development Corporation, they will spend $3.8 million for the site to become a gas station, restaurant, and seasonal museum. Hatzel Cookpee, Sherry Seller says, re-establishing the area as a tourism hub is important for their community.
Invigorate Soda Creek again and start to bring things back to there. We're just trying to do phase by phase to figure out how we can get that completed. But, you know, it's been just so quiet down there, and that's not a normal thing for our community to have that hub not opened up and us gathering in different ways down there.
It was Cookpee, Sherry Sellers' late mother, Doreen Sellers, who was behind the building of the Soda Creek Emporium restaurant being built in the 1970s. The restaurant is where many of the young people in the community received their first jobs.
There's a lot of us younger generation that did the simpler jobs like the busing and the dishwashing and stuff like that. So it got us involved in the back a little bit. And that's where I as well ended up going to school for cook training.
The Soda Creek renovation and expansion project site is located near the Hatzel Heritage Village and bike trails. The nation believes there will be plenty of reasons for the tourists to visit. Cookpee Sherry Seller says it is a nice feeling knowing her late mother's vision will carry on.
It fills my heart to know that, you know, that we can revive it and bring more of the economics back to the community and whatnot, and train more people in different aspects of jobs as well.
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
Beautiful territory there. Well, Manitoba's tourism industry got a big boost from the federal government late last week in an effort to help the industry bounce back from the pandemic. With more on where the money is going to be spent, here's Daryl Stranger.
Dozens of projects in Manitoba's travel tourism industry will get a piece of more than $10 million, and the historic Fork site will be one of 39 projects to receive money. Over $1 million will go towards completing several projects, including the construction of a one-of-a-kind Treaty Knowledge Centre. The space, developed with the Treaty Relations Commission of Manitoba, will offer treaty education resources and will highlight Manitoba's oral history and host an archive of images and documents. Treaty Commissioner of Manitoba Loretta Ross said the funds will help the reconciliation journey.
It's difficult for me to contain my excitement. And I'm excited not because of our dream at the Treaty Relations Commission, but I'm excited for Manitobans. This is an amazing opportunity for all Manitobans, First Nations and non-First Nations people alike, to get to know our history. Our elders tell us before we can go to the future, before we know where we're going, we have to know where we've come from.
Other sites receiving funding include the Broken Head Ojibwe Nation, Travel Manitoba, and the Canadian Fossil Discovery Centre, among many others.
From the Northern Lights and polar bears in Churchill to historic downtown Winnipeg, there is a reason that tourism is one of Manitoba's spectacular industries. A strong tourism sector in Manitoba is critical for a strong prairie and Canadian economy.
The money comes from 3 federal funds: the Tourism Relief Fund, Canada Community Revitalization Fund, and the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, all aimed at recovering the tourism economy hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
We need to take one more quick break, but there is still news ahead, so stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Sinites living in the United States won a landmark Supreme Court ruling in Canada last year, giving them Section 35 rights to hunt and fish on their traditional territory on this side of the Canada-U.S. border. That's a stretch along the Kootenays in southeastern BC. Well, Rick Desatel, seen here, was the plaintiff in that case. He was part of a delegation that returned to their ancestral lands over the weekend from the United States to celebrate that win at a ceremony in Nelson, BC. I was there, grabbed this photo. Stay tuned to APTN this summer for a series on the Sinites people who, despite this court victory, are still considered extinct in Canada, and what the court victory means for other nations whose territory crosses that 49th parallel. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting off on the east coast, we've got a mix of sun and cloud and 8 degrees in St. John's, 15 and cloud for Charlottetown. Nukjuak, sunshine and 19 degrees, 23 and sunny for Kuujjuaq. Sept-Îles and Gaspé, both 18 and cloud cover, 27 and sunshine for Montreal. Also 27 and sunny for Ottawa, 27 and some rain for Peterborough. 26 and a chance of showers for Sioux Lookout. Big Trout Lake, 24 and cloudy. Sunshine and 21 for Churchill. Puckatawagan, 24 and showers. 23 with a chance of rain for Gimli and Winnipeg. 18 and sunshine for Swift Current and Saskatoon and Estevan. 22 and showers for Buffalo Narrows, 28 showers for Stony Rapids. High Level is the only place with sunshine in northern Alberta, 26 degrees expected there. 12 and showers for Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, rain and 13. 19 and showers for Kamloops, Victoria, 17 and sunshine. 15 and sunny for Prince Rupert, 22 and sunshine for Fort Nelson. 16 and sunny for Mayo, Old Crow, sunshine, 18 degrees. 18 and showers for Wrigley, 20 and sunny for Wati. Inuvik, 14 and sunshine. Paulatuk, 4, cloudy skies there. Whale Cove, sunshine and 12. Arviat, 9 and sunny. Kenite, 8 degrees and sunshine. Clyde River, 2 and sunny. More than 200 Indigenous artists gathered at an art symposium in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and for the first time, a fashion show kicked off the event. Angel Moore was there. She brings us this story from that runway.
This collection is called We Are Still Here. It represents the genocide brought by colonization. Designed by Oakley Wiseoat Gray. The choice of color is important. The red is the blood that has been shed, and the black is the ink of the Indian Act.
But yeah, the whole point of my collection is kind of to just talk about these stories and make it aware that, like, this is something that we do need to talk about in a way where anybody can understand, but also to show that this all happened to us, but yet we are still resilient in the end. And yeah.
The Badabin, meaning First Light, Art Symposium occurs every 2 years. It offered workshops on and demonstrations of creating art, and for Indigenous artists to connect with each other. For the first time, the symposium featured the work of 6 fashion designers, held at Fredericton's Beaverbank Art Gallery. Ingrid Brooks is an internationally recognized designer. She focuses on gala-wear, will show her designs at a New York Fashion Week this fall. She has been sewing regalia for powwows for the last 20 years, but having her clothes modeled on a runway seemed like only a dream.
My friend had sent me a link to the Toronto Fashion Show, and she said, "You should try out for this." I said, I never really thought of myself as a fashion designer. And I said, okay, let me see what I can pull together. And I went to Toronto, and I had a lot of fun.
Skohani Wenasquan has modeled in New York and Paris, but is showing her designs for the first time. They transform traditional culture, such as birch bark, into wearable fashion.
So this is my main piece. It's a mixture of fur and lace and florals, and the top is birch bark. And I got inspired from just a lot of our own traditional, how we worked with birch bark and canoes and a lot of our like bags and traditional jewelry and stuff. And
designer and coordinator of the show, Mariah Sakabason, says Indigenous designers need a space to be recognized.
And we're not just regalia makers. We don't just create for powwow. We have quite the breadth of work that we can do and offer the world, and I'm glad that we had this time to share.
Gray has words for aspiring designers.
Keep doing what you love. And never be afraid to be yourself. Oh my God, that's gonna make me cry. Yeah.
The next Badabin Art Symposium will be held in 2 years on Prince Edward Island and will again include the Indigenous Designers Fashion Show. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Well, that is a wrap on your news to kick off the week. I'm Melissa Ridge, and we're always thankful when you can join us. Have a great evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.